Hello readers and welcome back to Tell Between Tales. Today we are going to do the sort of a reading vlog of The Stand by Stephen King. And I say sort of a reading vlog because I didn't really film a lot of or any videos of me reading per se. I just took a bunch of pictures of my cross stitch basically. And then I filmed some segments of me talking in front of my cross stitch. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how you like it. And I'm hoping to do some more actually regular reading vlogs and see how that goes. So we'll see. I hope you enjoy and we'll see you at the end of the video. So it's time for a check-in. It's been a little while. I've listened to 4 hours of The Stand and I've gotten a good amount done on my cross stitch. As you can see, the nice thing about doing the background work of the cross stitch is that it is a half stitch instead of the actual cross, and so it does tend to go by pretty quick. And so that's really good because I'm actually going to be gone on vacation for the next week. And so I'm going to miss almost an entire week of October for working on my cross stitch. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish because that only gives me a few weeks left, but fingers crossed, we're still hoping. It has been a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, just because there is more detail in the background, and I'll show you in the picture. There's actually trees in the background, so it's not just row after row after row. Hopefully though, I think I'm getting to the spot where I'm going to start going row by row with the coloring, so it should be a little bit easier and take a little bit less time and be a little bit less confusing where all the stitches go, because all the stitches are such close in color. But anyway, enough about the cross stitch. You really want to know about the book and what's going on in Stephen King's The Stand. So right off the bat is kind of fun because I read a trilogy that starts with Year One by Nora Roberts back in 2020 actually, which is a very similar premise. I am sure that she was inspired by Stephen King's The Stand, except that one is very much more magical leaning, and it's not just about the end of the world with the viruses and dividing into two groups, although that does happen in the book. And throughout the course of the trilogy, it's 3 books long, it develops and it changes, but it is the main premise. And so it just kind of reminded me of the beginning of that book called Year One. So in The Stand, you start with patient 0, and this character, he leaves where he's working in this hazard facility for the military, and he escapes before the doors close, and he grabs his family, and then he runs he runs in his car, and they flee and they leave the army base just 4 minutes before everything locks down. And so he leaves, and then we move over to a couple days later in the bar where he crashes into the gas pumps. And right away I noticed that Stephen King doesn't really spare you any details. Like within Nora Roberts one, she really kind of glosses over the end of the world. And here we're 4 hours into the book, and while the end of the world is very much alluded at and you know what's coming, it hasn't happened yet. So we're doing a lot of backstory and building with the characters that we're learning about. And also, he doesn't gloss over the deaths of the children, and it's very sad because, you know, in the beginning you kind of get to know this family, is this prologue chapter of them leaving patient 0, and then in the very next section you see them all dead. And so I was like, oh, it's sad. And then he talks about how the virus is spreading and all of the people that it's getting passed to, and he talks about little babies that pick it up and get taken to the doctor's office and spread it there. So not just going through all of the adults, you're also going through all of the kids that get it and the families that get it. And so that's just, you know, as a mom, that was just kind of like, oh, that's just kind of sad. You have to see all the little kids, but it doesn't get too graphic, at least not yet, as far as, you know, like people, like maybe not graphic, like graphic and morbid, you know? And so we're still building. We've met a lot of characters. Several of the characters that we've met, however, have already died. And so I know that there's probably three characters, I think, that we've been introduced to that are probably going to survive this. And I'm not convinced yet that I like any of them. I'm really hoping that I really encounter some characters that I do like. The language in this book is pretty bad. I'm not liking the language. There's a lot of swearing in this book, and I'm listening to it, which is frustrating because you can't skip over it. But the nice thing though is that the way that the narrator reads it, for some reason, it makes it a little bit easier to take. Whereas if you're just listening to two people talking and they're just, you know, swearing all of the time. But, you know, you go into the bar scene where patient zero crashes into the gas station. And I mean, they're in the bar and people are swearing. And I mean, I guess that's pretty realistic, but there's just a lot of it. And then you meet Franny, and Franny is, she's about 21 years old, and she's dating this guy, and she's pregnant, which is interesting. She got pregnant, she just found out, and it's kind of interesting because in Nora Roberts' book, it starts out that way too. So it's like you can definitely see where the connections are. But of course, in Nora Roberts' book, with that being much more fantasy leading, that conception there was like the chosen one, like the hero of the story, right, was conceived. And so it'll be interesting to see how this one is going to play out, because, you know, he's really building it up. And so it's going to be important, I'm pretty sure, later on in the book. And so that's Franny's story. So she's dealing with that and trying to figure out what to do. And the guy she was with offered to marry her, and she says she doesn't want to do that. So she's really kind of trying to figure out what she's wanting to do. And she's having conversations with her parents. And I really liked the conversation with her dad and how her dad handled the situation. And then, you know, they talk about abortion and like whether or not that's an option. And she lost a brother when she was younger. And so the dad talks a little bit about, you know, how he sees it and how he says, you know, life is cheap and the end is always horrible, but I always think about your brother who died. And I really just liked how he handled that whole argument and that whole situation. And so then another thread that we're following is Larry, and I do not like this guy at all. He is a musician, and he had a hit song, and he's just been partying and like drugged up and tons of sex and drugs and alcohol, and he had a friend that came and got him out of it, said all these people are just sucking off of you, you need to end the party, and like you're super in debt because you only have one hit song, you're not getting paid very much. And so he ends up going back home, and he's just a scumbag. He's not like necessarily an evil person, but he's not really a good person. I don't like him. And in his narration sections, there's a lot of swearing. And so I'm not really enjoying his part. And so then there's another character, I can't remember his name, that we were introduced to, and he's only had one chapter so far, and he's deaf and dumb, so he can't hear or speak. But he's kind of like a drifter, but like he's doing jobs, and he gets jumped in the beginning of his chapter, and then he ends up in the cell, and he's talking to the police officer, and they let him out, and they're like, well, we can go and try to go after these people who did this to you and see if we can get them get them arrested, but it's going to be really difficult. And so that is pretty much where we're at. We're still really doing a lot of character building and story building, and the end of the world hasn't even hit yet. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and read some more. Hey guys, so it's time for another update. I am now 11 hours into the book, The Stand, and I think I left off last time when we were talking about Franny and the conversation that she had with her father. The conversation that she had with her mother was definitely quite different, quite a little bit shocking. And what we've basically been reading is the fall of the nation and how the virus has been spread around everywhere and everybody's dying off. So you read through the whole die off of everybody and you follow the characters and their experience, and it all happens very, very quick, which might be a criticism that I might have of the book, because the way that the virus, I mean, I know it's all fiction, but the way that the virus works is like you can immediately pass it on as soon as you contract it. And I'm pretty sure that they need some kind of an incubation period, but this one doesn't seem to need one at all. It's like you contract it and you're immediately contagious. And that's how it just gets around to everybody so fast. And the fall of the world really happens really quick. It's like a week from the first time we hit like patient zero to the time that everything has fallen apart and everybody's dying, and it just happens really, really fast. Now the language has not gotten any better, and I am really, really struggling with the language. And I was really hoping that, like, I thought I could stand it. Like, I thought that I was like, okay, I can just hopefully kind of block it out, but there's just so much of it that I can't block it. I can't listen to the book with my kids around. I can't block it out because there's chapters where it feels like almost every other word, because of the characters that we're following are really bad people. And I know that in reality, a lot of these people will talk this way, but even the people that we're following are that are like more good people. You still get, several swear words in those chapters and several F-bombs in those chapters. And so it almost felt like he was trying to write situations in there where he could use bad language. Like when we're following Nick, who is deaf and dumb, so he can't hear or speak, he gets jumped by this gang in this small town, and then we follow him as he gets he's picked up by the sheriff and he befriends him, and they go after these people that jumped him, and so he's keeping him prisoner, and he can't hear anything. He can read lips, but you still get so much bad language from these characters that he can't even hear speaking to him. And it's just so terrible. So I actually thought about DNFing this book because of this language, probably about an hour into the book. And I was like, okay, no, I want to give it a fair trial, give it enough time. And so I went through the 4 hours, and then I was like, okay, well, I want to see if maybe when everybody dies, if the language gets better. And to be fair, the language is maybe a little bit better, like maybe a trivial amount better, now that the vast majority of the world's population has died off. And I'm really, really bummed because I have decided to go ahead and DNF this book. I'm going to stop reading it, which is I'm really bummed. Like, I really wanted to listen to this story. And the thing that I'm most disappointed about is that I knew everything that I didn't know the specifics, but I knew everything in the story about what is happening so far. Like, I knew it was about a virus that wipes out, like 98% of the world's population. And I really wanted to get to the part where, what happens after. And so far the first 11 hours is the fall of the world, and watching the fall of the world. You get like a day by day play of what's going on in all of the characters' lives that we're following. And so I was really hoping that now it would get better. But we were just introduced to a new character, which is called the Trash Can Man. And his is also a tragic story, with this tragedy that happened in his past, with his dad going nuts and killing his family and his mom escaping, and then the sheriff hunting down his dad and killing him. And so he's got memories that are replaying in the narration. You're seeing his memories and like all these people. He started lighting fires because he's disturbed, rightly so, and needs therapy. And all of these like remembered things that people would say to him, there's just so much bad language and all these insults that he's remembering and recalling. So it's like, even though everybody's dead, Stephen King's gonna find a way to put all these swear words in there. And I mean, maybe that says more about me than it says about Stephen King, because I know that a lot of people speak that way. But, I do also feel like there's a lot of people that don't. And I mean, it's a free country, right? So I get to decide what I listen to and what I don't listen to. So I have decided to stop listening to it. It was starting to play, like phrases were starting to play through my mind that I was having a hard time getting out of my mind. And I was like, I don't want all these swear words constantly jingling around in my mind. And then I started dreaming about it, which I guess was, a really good cue to tell me that I needed to be done. Because like I was dreaming about DNFing it because of there being so many swear words. And so I was like, well, if I'm dreaming about it, like it's obviously really bothering me and it was weighing heavily on my mind, and trying to decide like, do I keep reading it because I really want to know the storyline? And with this being one of his, very famous works, and really important for his overall universe, but I just can't do it. And I was really surprised because I've read 3 Stephen King books. I've read Salem's Lot, and I've read Misery, and I've read the first book of the Gunslinger series, or the Dark Tower series, which is called The Gunslinger, I believe. And none of those books were riddled with swear words like this one is. But yeah, so I was really surprised and I was really disappointed. And so unfortunately, I can't, vlog anymore on the rest of the book, but I am getting very, very close to finishing the stocking, which is my other goal. And I wanted to get all of the stitching done this month, and then in November get all of the back stitching done. So I think I will at the very least reach one of my 2 goals for that. But I decided to go pick up a different book this month to finish that, to help finish with the stitching. So I'm actually filming this video a little bit later. I DNF'd the book about a week and a half ago. And so you can see in the background, my stitching's almost done. But I'm gonna still throw up some pictures for you. I decided to get Sabriel by Garth Nix from the library, and I really have enjoyed that one. I believe it's a young adult book, and it's been a really good read for this time of year, for October, getting so close to Halloween, because it's really all about necromancy and death, except that the main character puts the dead back, like they bind them back into death instead of raising things from the dead. And so I thought that was a really cool twist. I definitely want to do a full review on it. I had a really good time listening to that one. And so, yeah, so I am going to throw up the last few pictures of me finishing up this stocking. And after this, I have to do the back stitching, which is just all of the outlining. And so I am really excited because I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get it done. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm hoping to have a bunch more book reviews headed your way. I have so many books I just need to write scripts for, but you know, life is busy, and I still have so many journaling pages that I need to make that I haven't even found any time to do because all of my time has been going into this stocking. Like I was like, I need to get this done. So maybe once my stocking is done, I'll have some time to catch up on some book journaling, because I haven't done any book journaling since like August, like since the kids have gone back to school. There's just been a lot to do. A lot of things competing for my attention during the little bit of time that I have to myself during the day. So anyway, thanks for watching and enjoy these last few photos, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. All right, welcome to the end of the video and just a few closing statements. And yes, I did film this at the exact same time as my opening and hence the baby's still in my lap. And so I just have a few more thoughts to tie everything together for the end of my video. I did want to give it an official language score since I do that for all my videos. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be a 0 out of 10 because the language was so bad that I ended up DNFing the book. And the other final thought that I have is, if you want to get an extra thrill while reading this book, then read it when you have a cold or a flu, because I was sick for like almost the entire month of October, and I had sick kids and the whole family was sick with this horrible cold, and it was definitely adding a lot of creepier undertones, like those that more tension of an undertone, because what escapes is essentially this strain of flu, and symptoms present as a cold or a flu. And so you're like, oh no, like I've got this cold and everybody's dying in this book. And so anyway, just some food for thought for you there. So thank you for watching this video, and even though I DNF'd the book, I still hope you enjoyed the video and you got some good information about the book and whether or not it would be something that you would enjoy reading. And let me know if you enjoyed this kind of style of video, if you'd like to see more fluidity within the reading vlogs, which is kind of what I'm aiming for, which is pretty much the typical of what people usually do. But let me know if you would like more reading vlogs, and I will catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.